Call to order the Finance Committee meeting for Thursday, July 6th. First agenda item, approval of minutes of the May 11th meeting.
Make a motion to approve said minutes of May 11th, 2023.
Second?
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Second item, discussion, possible action, authorization of revised fees, building department. We have a $1 increase.
$1 increase, yes.
Okay.
That's about the size of it. The 26 cents increase for the state fee,
Yep.
that was increased. And then, again, the additional remaining up to $1 was for, just to try to accommodate for administrative costs and the cost of construction, the increases.
So this would have to go to the council for approval, or can finance approve the increase?
It needs to go to council for a resolution.
Did it go to the consent agenda, or is
Yeah.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll make a motion to approve the authorization to revise fees for the building department as stated in our package.
Second?
Okay, any discussion?
This is for the consent agenda.
Yes, understood.
Yeah.
No discussion?
I think we already
All-
discussed it too long.
Yeah. All in favor? Aye. All right, that was our $1 increase. Update and governance communication planning memo, Clifton, Larson, Allen auditors.
Yes, so you had a multiple-page document in here, something we've seen every year. We've just started our audit process. They were here a few weeks ago. They'll be coming back again in August. And we're trying to be ambitious and get the audit completed. We've been kind of running into like a December date, mostly related to pension data, but this is not a year where we're doing the full actuarial review, so it should be a quicker process. This memo, you've seen it before, talks about compliance, internal controls. Having it here on this agenda is more for information purposes to let you know that, Alan, I believe they'll reach out to you directly, but then each individual member of finance will be contacted, and if you have any questions, feel free to speak to them.
Okay. I think I have to sign a letter
They'll,
as chair of finance?
correct.
Yes, okay. All right. Any questions on the planning memo? No?
Nope.
Nope, none here.
All right. Discussion possible action, award a bid, environmental assessment, 35 to 55 Evans Road.
Yes, we have this agenda item, if you want to.
If you keep going.
We did the award of bid. Actually, we did this a couple of months back, but with the thorough review and making the selection, final selection was to go with Tig and Bond for $160,000. There were other bidders involved, and this was the one that came to be the lowest qualified in accordance with the staff and community development, as well as the DECD group.
Okay, and this will go against the Brownfield grants as it
Correct.
notes. Okay.
With that, I'd like to make a motion to send to the town council consent agenda the award for bid for environmental assessment for 35 to 55 Evans Road to be awarded to Ty and Bonds out of Cromwell, Connecticut for a bid of price of $160,000.
Did you say consent agenda, Jeff? You did, okay, yep, second.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
We have a, I guess you can do my agenda item, right? Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, I got to go back to the top. All right, award, discussion and possible action, award a bid remediation, 374 New Britain Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah, this is for the remediation for Straska Farm,
Yep.
for the removal of contamination and for site work, for the barn, and the pad site, for the pad site for the barn, the driveway, and other site work to help clear for the community garden areas.
I'd like to make a motion to send to the town council consent agenda the award of bid for the open space remediation and redevelopment for 374 New Britain Avenue to be awarded to RED Technologies out of Portland, Connecticut at a bid price of $475,845.
Jeff, you jumped the gun. I had a question for Ray. Sorry.
Oh, no, we can do discussion after, right?
Okay, second, and then discussion. Go that form of a question to Ray. Ray, I'm trying to remember, I was involved in this way back when we negotiated the purchase contract. Was there proviso for some holdback on the purchase price under certain environmental circumstances? I'm trying to remember what that was all about.
Wow.
There's escrow.
That was a long time, and that was,
Wasn't there escrow in a certain limited amount of time? Or
There, the escrow was for the clean out of the trash cars. We held back $500,000 for that particular portion. Oh, it had nothing to do with remediation for soil. It was to remove the cars, the junk, all the trailers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, I mean, well, I guess part of that was we anticipated there could be some environmental effect from that, from leaking fluids from the vehicles and the like.
Yeah, and that,
Is that tied to any of this?
we did receive an assessment grant. So we had another grant that did the assessment and the evaluation. This grant was for the cleanup. So this grant is just for the cleanup, for the demolition of the house, and for the removal of whatever is left in the soil. There isn't really that much left to really, if you think about it.
Okay. But, so this is a grant we're getting from the state in any event? It's not something that's coming out of,
No, this grant,
Operating funds.
we received this grant in 2001. We've been working on it. I even think when you were here, I think we received this grant for $837,000.
okay.
Yeah, nothing is coming out of our budget for this particular phase of the project.
So is anything left of the escrow then from the purchase price?
No,
No.
no, we had to, whatever we didn't use for the clean out, as
Okay.
opposed to clean up, went back to the owner, the original owner.
Okay. Okay. That's all I have by way of discussion or questions.
Okay. If there's no other discussions, all those in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. Update Special Revenue Fund.
Okay.
Back to you, Mona.
Yes, back to me. Have to make my apologies for the headings on there, which states April 30th. This is actually a June 30th update completely across the board. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. We're still looking at the same special revenue funds, highlighting to the ones that are numbered in the column that will state the asset forfeiture. There were purchases of 3 police vehicles from that revenue collected. It was an unusually high year for revenue collected, so they were able to do a purchase of vehicles, the 183, probably 150 of that, not the full 183 vehicle. Next highlight would be on the human services. They have the balance of $252,000. We're watching that deplete already as we're looking at paying for some of the relocation expenses from the concierge. And let's see what else we have for ARPA. We've talked about that. That amount's going to be transferred at year end. We've collected for the fire grants over, well, close to $79,000. Believe they have billed out over $100,000 already, so they tend to run about a 60-day delay on reimbursement. We have a reimbursement due on the brownfield and private duty. We will be looking at updating that for any receivables for unbilled charges for services during the year. So we'll see that increase slightly.
Questions?
Just one question on the asset forfeiture, Mona. Is that town by town, or is that getting a share of money that's distributed by the state?
It's actually both. If we have something that's just town-specific, then we would get the asset forfeiture for that particular case. There are others that we participate. It could be something countrywide, statewide, region-wide, and then we get our proportion. So it's kind of a prorated formula that they do at asset forfeiture, and we'll get our reimbursement on that. Reimbursement turnaround tends to be maybe a couple years, because obviously they've got to settle the cases and do the distribution. So it could be both.
Okay, thank you.
just in general on these, is there any way to tell if these are what we receive versus what? Is there a budget for these to see if we got more or less than we were anticipating, or these are just too all over the board? You can't really.
Yeah, they tend to be more all over the board. Some are more consistent than others. As you can see, like the 0203 fund, the ones at the top virtually have no activity. Probably if you had to budget, you may be more luck with budgeting like the rec programs that have the same type of programs, or the youth services. Otherwise, for example, that asset forfeiture, it's unusual to see a year like that, so you wouldn't really budget. It depends on the activity. I guess that's what makes them special revenues. Each individual fund has its own unique situation.
Okay. And on the Straska Farm improvement, it says lease payments and reimbursements offset by clean-out costs. So are those lease payments from the farmers that are working?
Correct.
The three, okay. Is that a full year's worth of payments, $1,000, 2023, or is that a,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it for the whole year.
okay, so
Yeah.
it's not a whole lot of revenue?
No, it isn't. Yeah. But it does have to be tracked separately.
No,
so,
absolutely. No, I'm glad you do that. Yeah, I was just curious, so.
Yeah.
And Mona, let's just touch on the concierge at a pretty high level, but, the total expenditure at a human services was almost $34,000. How much of that is towards hotel? Do we know that?
They're presently, let me see, what do we have, like 5 units, and they're going about, we had prepaid to them, so I think at this point we have prepaid out because we just tried to cover through the month of June. And so you're looking at about $10,000 expense so far.
Okay. And potentially that can be reimbursed depending on
Correct.
the legal actions and how that
Right.
ends up. Okay.
Yes.
Just follow up on that. Is the only mechanism for that the lawsuit that's pending, or is there some other path to be reimbursed for that sort of thing?
That would be through the Fair Ed Commission activities, those 5 relocations. Yeah, 5.
5.
Are a result of cases brought before the Fair Ed Commission, separate from the pending litigation.
Okay. And so that process going through the Fair Rent Commission, when there's a relocation that's either approved or ordered by the Fair Rent Commission, does that trigger a right of reimbursement owing from the landlord to the town?
Pardon me?
I said ideally.
Yeah,
yes.
ideally. These cases will probably more than likely be, they're subject to appeal by whatever landlord is,
Right.
we're working with. But what we'd like to do is get that back. For example, we would escrow a rent in it, or escrow the money and/or rent, depending on the case, and not release that money.
I'm sorry, what money?
The money that we'd be escrowing, if I think I'm getting off track, but
You are.
yeah, I'm getting a little off track.
So is the tenant paying the town their rent as escrow? Is that what you're?
If we do an escrow, I got off the track. I was thinking of something else, but to get back to the escrow,
Yep.
let's say there's a problem at I don't know, let's say Glenbrook apartment complex, and there's a repair needed. The town, through finance, has the authority to escrow that rent. That rent, that tenant would pay the town rent. We put in escrow until that situation was rectified. Then we would release the escrow back to the landlord. It's an enforcement mechanism that we have authority to do through the courts.
Right, but I think you were talking about the hotel expenditure?
Yeah.
Yeah, the hotels.
So,
But
is the town footing the bill initially? They're
Yes.
writing the checks and
Correct.
then?
Yeah.
So is the town going to get reimbursed from the property manager or?
We will be seeking reimbursement through the landlord.
Right, and that's outside of this
That-
other legal?
That's outside of the
Outside, right,
pending
yeah.
court case.
well, when you say seeking reimbursement, are we asking them to be nice enough to pay us, or are we making a legal demand because they have a legal obligation?
Legal demand,
So there's a legal basis for that.
yes.
Right. Yeah, just and kind of keeping in mind that that's this particular instance, but other expenses in here. It could be any situation where we end up putting others, residents, whatever their situation may be. If there's an eviction, perhaps, then they had to house them in a hotel or another housing arrangement. That would come from this human service fund, and we don't seek the reimbursement. It's just what Human Service Department does. Situation of if it were an eviction or whatever the situation may be. So it's not always, I think, this particular situation, but that is one of the purposes of the funds is for relocation and someone that's in dire needs and has to be relocated.
And in this specific instance, we're talking about these 5 units, has a legal demand been made on the owners of concierge to reimburse?
Not yet, because we're finishing up on a few of those cases.
Okay, but the intention is to do that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Also Cedar Hollow, right?
Correct?
The most recent case for these, for that funding would be the Cedar Hollow issue we just had we're putting up 3 families right now in a local hotel with this funding. And we probably will not get, we will seek in a nice way to try to get reimbursed from Cedar Hollow perhaps, or from a developer, but
Whatever.
normally we would not get reimbursement for that type of situation.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? All right, we'll move on to an update on reserve for capital, non-reoccurring expenditures through June 30th.
And not a lot of activity, again, for this particular fund. As you can see, we've year-to-date already expended the $165,000. Don't anticipate any major expenses as we close out the year. We had expense from Board of Ed for some repairs, minor repairs. Other than that, we are continuing just small activity in this fund.
Any questions on this one?
Not by me.
All right. Flip back here. State aid to municipalities, 22-23 budget.
Well, it's great news. We received everything that we budgeted for, nothing pending. We are complete for the year for state funding.
Okay. The last one was the Mashantucket.
Correct, yes.
Okay. That was pretty easy. I don't think there's any questions on that. And then our monthly financial report, pre-audit.
Zipping right along. So we have your high-level summary, but to first focus on the tax revenues. This is our best estimate at this time. We still, although we're in early July, there are a lot of collections, and we're still tallying the numbers up. We have a collection rate at 99.6%, which is great. Unfortunately, we have a decrease to reflect on the prior year tax collection. We had that great tax sale, but we also had a case with Walmart that was settled for a tax appeal. So what happens with that is if they paid and then the appeal gave them a lower rate, that overpayment has to be applied to next year, 23-24. So if you're following the numbers and you see a decrease, it's a reflection of that. That usually happens at the end of the year when we've got new tax bills coming out for 23-24 in June. So it kind of trues up any excess money that they had paid decreasing this year, putting it toward the following.
Won't be reimbursing them. They'll be applying it to their next payment.
Correct. We just roll the credits forward.
Yep.
And we mentioned state revenues. Interest is still doing very well. We're over $500,000. Again, working with the CDs is working well for us here. So again, building permits is above budget. We had discussed the Kelson Road permits. And let's see, in expenditures, again, we're still closing out. Although we're past June 30th, we'll still keep the books open for at least another 45 days, letting final bills come in. For the most part, we're seeing the same items. The overtime, that was more of the winter ice situation. Tree care, very high, and that's on a as-needed basis, depending on what's identified by the Parks Department. Electricity, obviously, we're over with that. We did get an offset from the Board of Ed to cover the portion of the credits they did receive. And let's see, insurance, still waiting for some final bills to come in. And for Board of Education, these particular numbers show through the month of May. We did receive their final numbers through end of June, and they'll be fully expended, excluding $4,619. So, unless there's questions on other lines, that's the high-level summary.
Any specific questions?
Nope.
All right, I think we're good there. I think we have other. Anything to add under other?
Nothing.
I just have
Do you
one
have something?
question, I guess I'll ask under other. I was kind of anticipating, based on our last council meeting, that the Board of Ed would be presenting paperwork for us to approve for the roof project.
Agreed. I think that was the original plan. We actually had the resolutions drafted. Where we are now is the Board of Ed has, actually, the grant opportunity opens on August 1st, so they're working with their architect to come up with a final number on that, with the $4,600 that they're giving back. Obviously, the number that we had identified, anticipating that they would give an additional $125 to roll into this, is not available. That wasn't rolled. So we're hoping to get for next finance meeting their final digits on what they want to do for the HVAC project.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that won't put the project behind schedule at all, it's just a
Right.
1 month delay? Okay. If there's nothing else for other, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.